Hi, my name is Yona. I'm the after school leader at Field Teen Center, and today I'm going to talk about Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Ribay, which I listened to as an audiobook on Libby. The main character, Jay, is a senior in high school. He's Filipino American, and like most teenagers, he would rather hang out, play video games, and bide his time until he can start school at U Michigan. However, the sudden death of his cousin June in the Philippines makes him reevaluate his entire life. June's death comes as a shock, not only because June was a teenager, the same age as Jay, but because their family refuses to talk about June's death or what happened, and he can't understand why they won't just tell him the truth. When he gets an anonymous tip on Instagram telling him that June was killed as part of Duterte's war on drugs, Jay decides to go back to the Philippines to find out the truth. The war on drugs in the Philippines is really intense. Basically, if anyone is caught doing or selling drugs, the cops can kill them without any consequence. And Jay cannot imagine that June would be at all involved with drugs. They've been writing letters back and forth since they were 10, and not only is June a really compassionate person, he's the most compassionate person that Jay knew. Though unfortunately, it's been a while since they've written letters. So Jay's missing a lot of information, and he also feels really guilty that he stopped writing these letters. When he goes back to the Philippines, one of the first people he's faced with is his Tito Maning, who is a tough customer. He's really strict. He expects everyone in the household to play their role and to treat him with respect as he sees respect. And he's also a cop, which really complicates this narrative that's coming out about June being killed as part of the war on drugs. So this leaves Jay sneaking around his uncle's house, trying to get into drawers and finding secret keys hidden in the bookshelf with these really tense sequences where he has to lie to his uncle. He has to try to confront his uncle and try to find courage in himself, not only to care about these issues really for the first time, but to speak up to this really powerful, scary figure in his uncle. And when he gets thrown out of his uncle's house for speaking up to him, the answers don't come any clearer, even when he's hanging out with family who are more sympathetic to June. He teams up with Mia, who's a journalism student, which is also a very risky endeavor in the Philippines. And their journey across the Philippines finally shows him a little bit more about who his cousin was, some of which surprises him and some of which does not. I thought this was such an amazing story, both in the way that it talks about grief and loss and how those things feel and how people talk about the deceased. Sometimes we can really idealize people who've died because we want to remember the best of them. And we want to hold on to all of the pieces, right? We want to really get to know everything that a person was. And that's very much what Jay is trying to do. And also, I appreciated this exploration of what it means to be an immigrant and to be caught in between. Back in the US, Jay has to deal with all these microaggressions from his friends who are super, super, super white. And in the Philippines, he has to deal with not knowing Tagalog and not knowing the history of the country and being looked down upon by his uncle in particular for his lack of a relationship to this country that he didn't choose to leave. His parents chose for him to leave and live in the US. It made me cry. It was just good. I don't know what to tell you, but you should read this book. If you read this book or if you've already read it, definitely leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Tell us, do you think you would have had the courage to speak up to somebody in Tito Maning's position? Would you have wanted to go back to the Philippines? And did this make you curious about Filipino history? Did you learn anything? Or just tell me hi, you liked the book. And thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it.